And you mentioned pre-diabetes. I know David Perlmutter, who actually he's on the back of the book. He was
David's a good friend. Yeah, he's great. Have you had him on your
we
show?
have, yes.
He's great. Yeah,
he's a wonderful man, David is. And he mentioned on the show that if someone is drinking a couple of sugary drinks a day, then they are likely to be pre-diabetic. So I wonder, how bad is sugar? And I'm not talking about from fruits, but just, the sort of refined sugars and whatnot for us.
It's the devil. It's probably the worst thing for us. Sugar is the devil. There's no question about it. Sugar is a drug. The metabolic consequences of, first of all, it's a drug and you become addictive and it's very hard to give up. But besides that, the metabolic consequences of eating sugar are really detrimental to your health. I mean, sugar is also the precursor, triggers inflammation, which is in the precursor of all our chronic diseases of today, whether it's heart disease, diabetes, obesity, cancer, osteoporosis, Alzheimer's, you name it. Sugar is like, to me, the biggest culprit for poor aging. There's nothing that comes close. Sugar, when I talk about sugar, I'm talking about sugar, processed foods, starchy foods. You guys got to get rid of all those potato chips. But anything that turns into sugar is bad news. Now, the part of the problem also is, as we get older, our capacity to metabolize carbohydrates decreases. So when you're younger, you can have that crap. I'm not saying it's good for you, and your body can process it. But as you get older, that capacity to process the carbohydrates and the sugar in particular decreases. So you get more prone to metabolic syndrome, pre-diabetes, insulin resistance. And then, the problem is downstream is the sugar dysregulation. And then it creates, from predisposition to poorer outcomes with COVID, to hypertension, heart disease, diabetes, obesity, Alzheimer's, you name it, cancer. So, but the sugar dysregulation is that problem downstream, and it's a commonest problem we see today.
Yeah.
And our culture promotes it. The corporate, the food industry, which is not particularly, they're not worried about your health. They're more worried about their financial health, are putting out these unhealthy foods. So it takes a lot of effort to be healthy in this day and age, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I think that health is kind of a thing where we often think about it in terms of being reactive. We sit back and wait for illness to kick in. But I think it's one of the things we've got to be proactive.
Absolutely. And your generation's much better. I mean, I love it. When David Perlmutter and I have been doing this a long time. When we were doing this in the 80s, 90s, or I know David from probably 30 years ago.
Wow.
When we were starting to do functional medicine, people thought we were quacks. Now we're gurus. But we've been saying the same thing all the time. You've got to catch things. The earlier you catch something, the easier it is to reverse. And if you start, make a lot of these lifestyle changes, habits, then life becomes much easier. It's harder to reverse when you're older.